Hello, you lovely people. Good morning. Life is cheap in the Philippines. And I don't mean it's cheap living in the Philippines. I mean, life has not, the way that they kill the pigs and kill the chickens and things like that. And also, I was listening to John this morning with one of his videos about him going to the doctors or the hospitals and waiting for the results. Wait for results. And I hear this quite a lot from other vloggers, Paul, Old Dog New Tricks, Mike's Philippine Retirement, I think, where they've been to the hospitals and again, they've had to wait for results and go for this, go for that, wait for doctor's appointments to get the results. And this was what I was saying a while back. Because if you have got something seriously wrong with you, you don't want to wait. You need to know. You need to know to get it treated. And this is why I said in a previous video that if there was something wrong with me, I would go back to England and even pay for a Bupa, which is the private healthcare over there. Because here, unless you've got a big finance, like a big bank account where you can go to these good private hospitals and get treated, like immediately, like St. Luke's. I hear that's a brilliant hospital. Got a lot of foreign doctors in there and it's got all the top equipment. But here, my neighbour next door is an Australian guy. And he goes back to Australia every 6 months for his checkup. Because here, he just doesn't trust the health service. And if there is something wrong, he wants to know. He wants to know today or tomorrow at the latest. He doesn't want to wait till next week for the results. And as you do here, as John said, from a British expat in the Philippines, he's been for tests. Now he waits for the results. Then the results will get sent, and then he's got to make an appointment with the doctor, and then the doctor's got to tell him what's wrong. I mean, that's just ridiculous, isn't it? Especially if there's something seriously wrong with you, and you want treated, you want that treatment now. It's no good waiting. But this is the Philippines, people. This is what it's like in the Philippines. It's the waiting game. It doesn't matter where you are in the Philippines when you're waiting. And you ask a question, wait, please wait, sir, wait. That's what it's like. There was a girl here, and I mentioned it in one of my videos. This was heartbreaking. And she did live here. She's only 14 years old. And she was part of the youth church here. It was a very sad story, this. And she had an aneurysm, brain aneurysm, right? And she was rushed to hospital, and they did x-rays and all this, and they said, yes, it's aneurysm, she needs treated straight away. They wouldn't do anything without money. The hospital here, which I think it was Corazon, it was either Corazon or Zanotti Hospital, and Zanotti Hospital here is the biggest hospital in Zamboanga del Norte. It's a huge hospital, public hospital. Corazon is a private hospital. But they would not do anything to that young girl, 14 years old, until they got money. And the mother here was trying to sell a Carabao to get the money together to pay for the doctors to treat her. It was too late. Too late, she died. And this, it angers me. And yes, I know I'm in the Philippines, I've got to accept it, but this is one of their own citizens. Not me, not another foreigner. That's what I mean. Life is cheap. Life is cheap in the Philippines. It's all about the money. It's all about the money. No money here for healthcare. You're knackered. You're knackered. You really are. We've got Phil Health as a family here, but what good would that do us? Probably none, because we'd still have to wait for results. And this is what I said in previous video that I did. Something wrong with me, I will go back to England. I would, seriously. And then you might say, well, you know, like all the money you're spending on flights, you cannot put a price on your health. You simply can't. You think, well, I'll spend this money on flights. I'll get back to England. I will go to a private, booper, because, you know, the NHS in England is a great thing, but it's stretched. You know, the National Health Service in England is stretched. The doctors are worn out because they work in so many hours. There's so many patients. But you can get booper healthcare in England. It's very cheap. And you don't have to be a member to be treated. You can go and say, right, I want to be a member of this, blah, blah, and you can get seen. This is what I would do, people. I would, seriously, because I don't. The Philippines probably has got a good healthcare service, but it's finding it. And here in these little provinces where I am, yes, there's a couple of big hospitals, but again, I know a nurse who works here. In fact, he's a surgeon's assistant in the operating room. And I was talking to him about this, and he was saying, Stephen, the doctors are good. They are well trained. What lets them down here is the equipment in these places here. A doctor is only as good as his equipment. It's the same as a mechanic is only as good as his tools. You know, and to get the best treat. That's why a lot of foreigners live in Dumaguete, Cebu, Manila, because they've got a good healthcare service there, or better than what there is here. But I've had a couple of experiences with hospitals here. One was when I had a motorbike accident and the handlebars went into my chest and, you know, smashed my lung up. That's why sometimes when it's high humidity, I have a bit, you know, like that sometimes. Because, you know, like my lung was damaged, there was fluid on my lung. They had to drain the fluid out of my lung several times. And even now it's not right. But it's 99% right. And I'll take this medication. And anyway, when I went there, they were quite good with me. But the tests I was waiting for, I was in the hospital, I was already there. So like I got seen quickly and the results come, and the x-ray was done the same day, and they said, yes, you've got fluid on your lung, you've damaged the diaphragm. And it wasn't too bad. And the payment wasn't too bad either. But they knew what was wrong with me because I went in there. But I'm saying, when you've got something, you know, like, I don't know, like, something could be seriously wrong with you. You know, you feel a bit unwell, you know, you don't feel right, you're tired all the time, and you go to the hospital for checks. You know, you want those results back as soon as possible, because it's not just the waiting and it's getting worse, but it's the anxiety. It causes anxiety. You know, how can you sleep when you're waiting for results of something? Yes, I know for blood tests in the UK, you know, when I used to go for blood tests for just like checkup ones where you do a fasting, they do with the cholesterol and everything like that, I used to have to wait about 3 days. But I mean, I wasn't going to the doctors because I was ill. I was going to the doctors because it was a checkup. So you don't mind waiting, but you know, for a checkup's results. But when you think there's something wrong with you, you want those results back yesterday because you want to be treated. It's as simple as that. But here it's not like that. Here it's the waiting game. Wait. And it's like when you do anything here, you've got to go here, you've got to go there, you've got to go. It's like you go all the way around the moon to get to the sun. That's what it's like here. And it's the only thing that worries me. And it doesn't worry me because I think I'm going to die tomorrow. It just worries me in case there's anything wrong with me or my wife, with my son. And we want to know what's wrong with us now. But it's not going to happen. The only way it's going to happen is if you pay top money for top hospitals and you have your own doctor. That's the only thing that will cure this waiting game that happens in the Philippines. And even then I don't know if it does or not, because I've never had to use it. But I know some Filipinos here, Oh, it's a Filipina actually, and she's got a shop in Dipolog, and her husband has cancer, and they don't even bother with these hospitals here. They go to Cebu, and like she says, you know, it costs a lot of money. It costs like hundreds of thousands, you know, for this treatment that he's having. But anyway, it's in remission now. But here, she said he would have died if they'd have been waiting for these hospitals here in Zamboanga del Norte. He would probably be dead by now. That's what she said, and she was talking to my wife about it, because we go there sometimes and we buy some bits and pieces from a shop. And this is the only thing that really concerns me here. Now, it doesn't concern me thinking, oh, I can't live here because I might get sick. We could get sick anywhere. We would get sick anywhere. It doesn't matter where we are. But like I said, I can, because I'm, you know, like a citizen of the UK, but my wife couldn't. So with my wife, we've got to have savings for her in case anything. It's just in case, it's in case. And yes, you can say, well, anything can happen. It can, but you've got to be prepared. And that's why we have savings put aside for in case anything happens to my son or my wife, you know, where I can get out of this province, get on a plane and go to Cebu or Manila if they needed urgent treatment. And it's a terrible thing because this is a big province. It's a big province, but as that friend of mine who is a surgeon's assistant in an operating room, he said the doctors are brilliant, but they are only as good as the equipment, and they haven't got the top equipment here, or they haven't got a lot of equipment here. That's why we have to go to different parts of the Philippines to get the proper treatment that we need. I just thought I'd make a video about this because I was listening to John this morning, and I feel his pain, you know. I do, because putting myself in his situation, I would feel the same. I'd think, I don't want to wait for these results for 3 days and then, or for 4 days a week, and then go to make an appointment with a doctor. And if they have the results, why do you need a doctor? I know in the UK we do as well, because when my results used to come through, they say, yes, we've got your results in, you've got to make an appointment with a doctor. So they used to make an appointment with a doctor on the phone. And I'd be worried. I'm thinking, why can't they tell me? Because I used to say, is it good? Is the results good? Or you've got to see the doctor? Why do they do that? I don't know. Because that makes you more anxious when they've got the results and they've got them in front of them, but they won't tell you. You've got to see the doctor. And you think, oh, God, they won't tell me because I've got to see the doctor. There's something wrong with me. Now, I'm quite an anxious person when it comes to things like that. Some people aren't. But, you know, when your anxiety goes through the roof, it sends your blood pressure up and it gives you a chance of a stroke. You know what I mean? It's a vicious circle. But, where's my dog? Where's he gone? I can hear him. Oh, he's over there. He's over there with the chickens. He doesn't kill the chickens. He plays with the chickens. Well, the chickens don't think he's playing, but he wants to play with them. So, yeah, life is cheap in the Philippines, people. It is. It is cheap. It doesn't mean... It just makes me think sometimes that, not about leaving the Philippines, it just makes me think, what would I do in these situations? And as I said in the video before, I would go back to England. I would get treated in England. And then I'd come back. Because here, I couldn't stand that waiting game. I couldn't stand it. But like I said, I did have one incident here where I had a motorbike accident. And as I said, my lung filled up with fluid, my left lung. And I was seen very quickly. And the doctor that was seeing me was a very friendly doctor. But at the same time, when I was discharged from hospital, well, I discharged myself. Because I was waiting for the doctors to come round. And I thought, no, I'll discharge myself. Tell me when I can see the doctor and I'll come back. And that's what I did. And because I had the Phil Health, it didn't cost me a lot on top of that. And I was treated well. But it wasn't really life-threatening. I suppose if I didn't get it seen to, it could be, because the fluid would have built up and I wouldn't have been able to breathe. And probably, I don't know what happens when that happens, you know, but it wasn't like you've got something wrong And you go for a test and you're waiting and you're waiting and you're waiting. I couldn't stand that. I couldn't stand it. It's the Philippines. That's all I can say, people. Like I said a couple of times, life is cheap here. And it really is like that young 14-year-old girl. They would not treat her life-saving treatment, which she might be still alive today, without money. Now, she might not have been because she had an aneurysm. You know, it's a very serious thing. So she might not have been alive, but at least they would have tried. But here they didn't, you know, they made a stable. That's what they did. They just made a stable, waiting for money. Waiting for money. Greedy, greedy, greedy. Don't these doctors sign an oath or something like that where they've got to save your life regardless of what nationality you are or of money? Money overtakes life. It does. Especially, I wouldn't say especially in the Philippines, I'd say all over, but here, it's like in England, you were rushed into hospital with an aneurysm, regardless of your nationality, you would be seen, you would be treated. You would be treated. Doesn't matter where you're from, you had an aneurysm or a stroke or a heart attack, money wouldn't come into it. You would be seen immediately as an emergency patient. Here, no. Anyway, people, that's it. I just thought I'd mention that because I just saw John's video this morning and I thought, I've got to say something. So, John, the best of luck, my friend, and I hope the results you do finally get are good results. I'm sure they will be, and you can get back on with your life. But I feel your pain right now, my friend. I feel your anxiety. So, chin up. What else can we do? Wait, and the results are going to be good. So, people, have a lovely day. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share, like, hit the notification. The normal stuff. Thank you, people. Take care. God bless you all. Bye-bye.